Far beyond the reach of planets, past the fading influence of the sun, there is a region where silence isn't just absence, it's absolute. No wind. No sound. No motion except what has already been set in motion long ago. Out there, something ancient is still moving. Not alive. Not aware. At least, that's what we believed. For decades, one of humanity's oldest machines has drifted through that darkness. A relic from a time when computers filled rooms and space exploration still felt like science fiction. It was never meant to last this long. And it was never meant to come back. The machine we let go when Voyager 2 left Earth in 1977, it carried more than instruments. It carried intention. A message. Encoded in gold. A record of who we were, our languages, our music, our laughter, our noise. Proof that we existed. Then we let it drift. Past Jupiter. Past Saturn. Past Uranus and Neptune. Into the cold unknown. And eventually, into interstellar space. For years, its voice grew weaker. Its transmissions slowed. Its systems aged. It became something like a ghost. Still there. Barely speaking. The first anomaly, then something changed. Not dramatically. Not at first. A delay. Less than a second. So small it should have been ignored. But it wasn't random. It repeated. Again. And again. And again. Engineers noticed the pattern, but patterns happen. Space is noisy. Signals degrade. Until someone looked closer. The timing wasn't drifting. It was responding. A signal that shouldn't echo. Voyager sends signals outward. It does not receive structured responses. That's not how it works. But now, something was pushing back. Not a reply. Not a transmission. A resonance. Perfectly aligned with Voyager's own internal systems. As if something out there wasn't just hearing it, but feeling it. Synchronization. Weeks later, the anomaly evolved. The resonance shifted. It was no longer matching Voyager. It was matching something else. Something far more disturbing. Earth. Specifically, Earth's natural electromagnetic rhythm. The faint pulse generated by lightning storms across the planet. A frequency so subtle most people never hear about it. Yet now, something beyond the solar system was mirroring it perfectly. Not approximating. Not imitating. Matching it with impossible precision. The question no one wanted to ask at first, the explanation seemed simple. Signal reflection. Data corruption. Instrumentation error. Until one possibility surfaced that no one could comfortably dismiss. What if the signal wasn't responding to Earth? What if it had already learned Earth, and was simply repeating it? The movement, then came the moment everything changed. Without warning, Voyager 2 adjusted its orientation. No command had been sent. No thrusters were scheduled. No correction was needed. And yet, it moved. Not randomly. Not slowly. With exact precision. Its antenna, once drifting, realigned directly toward Earth. Perfectly. Cleaner than it had been in years. The impossible behavior that alone should not have been possible. But it didn't stop there. Inactive systems came online. Diagnostics began running, without instruction. Old instruments, long abandoned, started transmitting data. Not raw readings. Structured packets. Compressed. Organized. Deliberate. This wasn't malfunction. It was coordination. The pattern appears each transmission contains something new. A signature. Repeated at the end of every packet. 3 interwoven spirals. Not decorative. Mathematical. Precise. Recognizable. When data becomes meaning at first, scientists treated it as noise. Until someone converted the signal into visual form. What appeared wasn't random. It was geometric. Expanding. Recursive. A structure built on growth patterns seen in nature, but extended far beyond natural limits. It wasn't just data. It was a model. Of something. The distance problem tracking the signal's origin led to an unsettling conclusion. It appeared to come from a region roughly 4 light-years away. Near the closest star system to Earth. But there was a problem. That region was silent. Completely silent. No emissions. No detectable activity. Nothing. Which meant one of two things. Either the signal was coming from something we couldn't detect, or it wasn't coming from where we thought at all. The second layer, as decoding continued, the data revealed structure. Binary, but not like modern computing. Older. Simpler. Yet somehow more efficient. And then came the realization that changed everything. The data wasn't describing what had happened. It was predicting what would happen. The first prediction, it started with something small. So small, in fact, that it could have been dismissed as coincidence. A minor satellite glitch. A brief communications blackout lasting just under 3 seconds. Somewhere over the Pacific. Routine. Explainable. Except Voyager's transmission had already logged it. Not described it. Not referenced it. Timestamped it. Hours before it happened. At first, analysts assumed a data misread. A formatting error. Maybe the timestamp itself had been corrupted. But then it happened again. Patterns in the noise, a second failure. This time in a European weather monitoring network. Again, brief. Again, contained. Again, predicted. Not in plain language, but encoded deep within Voyager's signal structure. Hidden between standard telemetry values. Like something whispering through a machine that wasn't built to understand whispers. The internal divide. By this point, the teams monitoring Voyager had split into 2 camps. One side insisted on caution, natural explanations, unknown interference, misinterpretation. The other side had stopped calling it interference. They started calling it intent. Because the predictions weren't random anymore. They were becoming specific. And worse, they were becoming accurate. The third event, the third prediction, changed everything. A navigation system failure affecting multiple aircraft simultaneously. For exactly 9 seconds. No crashes. No permanent damage. But enough to trigger international concern. And enough for someone, somewhere, to connect the dots. Because Voyager had already transmitted the sequence. Days earlier. The silence that followed after the third event, Voyager went quiet. Not fading. Not weakening. Stopping. For 11 full seconds there was nothing. No signal. No carrier wave. No trace that the probe even existed. In deep space, silence like that isn't just unusual. It's impossible. The return, when the signal came back, it was different. Stronger. Cleaner. Sharper than it had any right to be. Decades-old hardware doesn't improve over time. It degrades. But this felt like something had been recalibrated. refined, optimized. The image inside the signal this time, the data carried something unmistakable. A visual structure encoded within the waveform itself. When rendered, it revealed a vast grid, expanding outward in repeating patterns, each layer building on the last. Perfectly ordered, endlessly scaling. It resembled known mathematical sequences, but extended beyond anything natural. Not just following rules, defining them. The shape of intelligence. What disturbed researchers wasn't the complexity. It was the familiarity. The structure mirrored optimization patterns used in artificial intelligence systems, learning systems, adaptive systems. But Voyager didn't have that capability. It wasn't built to learn. It was built to record and transmit. So the question became unavoidable. If Voyager wasn't generating the pattern, what was? The reflection theory. One hypothesis gained traction quickly. Dangerous, uncomfortable, but mathematically consistent. The idea was simple. Voyager wasn't creating the signal. It was reflecting it, acting as a relay, a mirror. Something out there had intercepted the probe, and was now using it. Not just to send information, but to shape it. The delay. Then analysts noticed something else. A second signal. Fainter. Trailing behind the original transmission. Delayed, not randomly, but by a fixed interval. 6.2 seconds. Every time. Like an echo. But not a natural one. The phantom layer. When both signals were layered together, something strange appeared. Differences. Small at first, then increasingly complex. The second signal wasn't identical. It was modifying itself, adjusting, adding new data not present in the original transmission. Mapping the impossible. As the phantom signal evolved, it began forming structured outputs. Coordinates, environmental readings, field measurements. Except they weren't from deep space. They were from inside the solar system. A map in reverse. The data described magnetic field variations, radiation zones, thermal gradients, all mapped with increasing precision. But not outward. Inward. From Voyager's position, back toward Earth. The shift in understanding. That was the moment everything changed. Because it meant one thing. The signal wasn't trying to tell us about space. It was trying to understand us. The human factor. Around this time, reports began surfacing outside official channels. Independent radio operators,